This is WGAF Franklin, Massachusetts. Power 88. Southeastern New England's hottest rock. All day long.
Good morning. You are listening to the Alex Feuz Show, bringing you all of the news, sports debates, interviews with people you all care about, and so much more. Every single weekday on Dean College Power 88 Radio, broadcasting live from 7 to 8 a.m. And now, here's your host, Alex Feuz.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday morning. I'm Alex Feuz alongside Chaz Soba and Nick Carlson in the studio this morning, bringing you up until the 8 o'clock hour. Before we get started today, we're going to send it over to Chaz Soba in the studio, in the news studio, that is, with our weather update. Chaz, how's it looking out there today?
Well, today's weather will be cloudy all day with a high of just 57 coming at 4 in the afternoon. The low will be around 49 and is currently 50 degrees here in Franklin. Looking ahead, forecast shows rain for the next 3 days, so it looks like you'll be needing your umbrella for trick-or-treating this Thursday. Speaking of Halloween, Alex, you got any big plans?
So actually, on campus, again, this is a college in the New England area, not too far away from Salem, Massachusetts, and I'm going to be leading a haunted campus tour alongside Dr. Lawson, the historian of Dean College. So I'll be leading a haunted history tour on Thursday for Halloween around the campus. We're going to look at Dean Hall and the admissions building and just I'm going to tell a lot of the tales that have been passed on to me through alumni and other staff members. So I'm super excited to we do this every year. This is my first year doing the actual tour. Last year, I was just a part of it and worked with Dr. Lawson on some history components of the stories, talking with past students and faculty members to hear their stories if they had any, and then incorporated a script, and then we'll be giving the tour this Thursday. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
Do you have any stories?
As far as stories, are you going to be doing this building? Because I've heard that the building we're in right now, the top floor is supposedly haunted.
Well, there is a fifth floor, and again, it's always a question about if Dean Hall is haunted or not. So if there's anyone that's listening in the Franklin area, it is open to the public before. There's two tours, really. The cemetery right over a little off campus, down on Main Street. Dr. Lawson will be leading the cemetery tour, and then after that, that's open to the town, the public, and everyone. And if you go to that, and if you want to join along on the haunted campus tour that I'll be leading, you can join that. So if you're in the area and you want to check this out, Dr. Lawson and I will be doing the cemetery and then the campus tour this Thursday on Halloween, and we'll be talking about this building, of course. Again, Dean College has been here since 1865. That's a lot of years, so a lot of stories. So you'll have to wait and find out to hear the stories. I don't want to spoil anything on the air. So again, you'll have to come to the history tour or the haunted campus tour on Thursday. Again, a lot of people do have stories about Dean Hall. A lot of faculty members have stories about the admissions building. So I guess you're just going to have to wait and find out.
Yeah, and how about Mischief Night? You got any fun stories about that?
I don't really have any fun stories. I don't have any too much fun stories about that. I don't know. Do you have any, like...
Personally, I've never done it myself, but I know of someone who had these kids come to his house every year. They'd throw eggs, they'd Jolly Ranchers on the windows, toilet paper, the whole 9 yards. And these kids did it every year, same thing every year. And one year he just got fed up and he set up a whole bunch of traps almost. Nothing harmful or anything, but just to give them a little spook. It was late at night, they couldn't really see much. Yeah. So he told me that whole story, and I thought that whole thing was kind of funny.
No, that's funny, and the kids deserved it. Yeah. That's the thing. But yeah, no. I'm excited. Halloween's a great, and then we're also having a murder mystery Dean After Dark on campus. So speakeasies, we have escape rooms coming to campus Thursday night for Dean After Dark. So I'm excited for that event as well. So a lot of events on campus for Halloween. I'm excited. Halloween is one of my favorite holidays. I believe there's also a costume competition at Dean After Dark as well. By the way, the dance this past weekend on campus, I had to give the students 100% on the creativity for these costumes. I don't know if you've ever seen iCarly, Chaz, but someone was T-Bop from iCarly.
I did see that, actually.
And that was unbelievable. Now, I mean, I felt bad because they couldn't bring the bagels into the gym because there's a no food rule. So they had to kind of ditch the bagel stick, which was the whole costume. I don't make the rules, but still, I felt bad telling them, yeah, you can't bring it in. But the creativity at the dance. Someone wore a pickle costume. I don't know if you saw this, but they had a pickle costume, and they brought a jar of pickles and a fork. We had to tell them, you can't bring any food. And then someone said, what are you thinking? Because if you bring a jar of glass into a dance, the chances of it falling and breaking, then you have pickle juice everywhere. It makes sense.
You hate to tell them not to bring their main prop of their costume in, but, I mean, common sense tells you shouldn't be bringing glass jars into a big dance.
No, it was an interesting night because within the first 20 minutes, we had someone coming up dressed as a pickle trying to bring pickles into the dance. Never thought I would have to say no, that you can't bring a jar of pickles into the dance. But here we are.
Well, first time for everything.
100%. But we'll switch gears now. World Series Game 6 tonight, Chaz. I had the Nationals in 6 games. It's not going to happen. If anything, it would be Nationals in 7. Do you feel like the Houston Astros are going to close things out tonight?
I have no idea what is happening. I mean, I don't have the data in front of me, but I don't imagine there's been too many World Series that both teams have gotten swept at home to start the series.
That's a great point.
I mean, Houston started the game at home, lost 2 games, went on the road. Nationals went back home, lost 3 straight. So honestly, I don't know what to expect. I mean, you'd think they've won 3 straight, Houston. They're going back home. You think they'd be playing better. They want to clinch it, and that may be the case, but if you look at the first 2 games, obviously, they didn't do that. They had their 2 best pitchers. They were at home. They were riding the momentum off the big win against the Yankees, the walk-off. And they just kind of dropped an egg the first 2 games, lost the first 2. So I don't even know what to expect out of this one.
Yeah, and the last 2 games for the Nationals haven't been close. They've been kind of just blown out. The offense of the Astros has really come alive. Yordan Alvarez, unbelievable rookie, 22 years old, and he's just been crushing it in that Houston lineup. And he struggled all postseason up until when it really mattered. You know, this was a point where the Astros needed that extra boost in that lineup, a bat that they were relying on in the second half of the season to get them the home field advantage to really just overcome the Yankees at the end of the day. And now Yordan Alvarez stepping up to the plate in the World Series, coming up big. The Washington Nationals remain unsure about the health of pitcher Max Scherzer heading into Game 6 of the World Series against Houston. Scherzer was scratched from his Game 5 start Sunday night because of his nerve irritation near his neck, and he had a cortisone shot, and Scherzer won the opener and hopes to be able to pitch in a Game 7 if the Nationals get that far.
Yeah, that's a big injury for them. You know, because he's one of their aces. I mean, probably their number 1 ace. Definitely their number 1 ace. But having him sort of up in the air with the injection, it would make me uneasy to be a Nationals fan and know that one of our most reliable pitchers in such a close game, close series like this, that if they need him for a Game 7, or even in bullpen in any of the games, come in for like an inning or 2 and eating up a couple outs like that, if he can't come in like that, I'd be a little bit nervous as a Nationals fan.
Tonight, though, Steven Strasburg and Justin Verlander, the 2 respective starter pitchers for tonight's Game 6 World Series matchup. Steven Strasburg, if you could look at a textbook and look in there what a perfect postseason pitcher is, Steven Strasburg is at the top of the list. And then if you're looking at a bad postseason pitcher, and especially in the World Series, 0-5 with an ERA higher than 5, Justin Verlander, he's also in there. Do you feel like Justin Verlander rights the wrong tonight and shuts down the Nationals' offense?
You definitely want to see that because, like you said, he's been struggling this postseason. Specifically over his last 4 starts, he has a 5.4 ERA. He's allowed 6 home runs. He's just not been as dominant as he's been in the postseason, or the regular season, that is. As an Astros fan, you definitely want to see your ace be your ace. I mean, we talked about that last Tuesday, that Garrett Cole and Verlander both kind of dropped the ball in a sense, and they had their 2 aces going the first 2 games. Neither of them delivered, and they got down to the 0-2 start. Luckily, they bounced back. It's 3-2 in the series now, and they have Verlander starting tonight against Strasburg, who's been, like you said, very consistent. But overall, yeah, I'd like to see Verlander bounce back. He's definitely had a Hall of Fame career, and postseason stats are really important to that kind of stuff.
Chaz, I think the future of this game of baseball, especially as we move into next season where there's a new rule where you can't have a relief pitcher and you have to keep it in there to face at least 3 batters. I think this postseason is going to change the narrative around starter pitchers in today's game. Because if you look back from the Kansas City Royals when they won the World Series back in 2014, ever since then it's all about who has the best bullpen. And at the end of the day, Astros have a better bullpen than the Nationals. And if the Astros do win the World Series, it could definitely be a conversation about the bullpen. And I feel like going into next season, these teams are going to start rebuilding and reshifting their starter rotation, because that's going to be the main focus, to find the best rotation out there in baseball. And ultimately, the reason why the Astros beat the Yankees was because they had the better rotation. At the end of the day, sure, the Yankees didn't come up big with the clutch hits, but when you have guys like Garrett Cole and Justin Verlander and Zach Greinke, it's so hard to win ball games that way.
Oh, it definitely is. I mean, like you said, 3 of the biggest pitchers in the game right now, all on the same team, all in a 3-game span of a series. It's even for a big offense like the Yankees, who was, set the home run record or whatever, and had a whole bunch of big, strong guys on the team, Judge, Stanton, even LeMahieu, who was coming alive all season. It was hard for them, and what you said about the pitching is definitely true. It's definitely going to be tested in this series and also next year, throughout the whole year. A lot of teams are going to want to start building their entire pitching staff. And that rule about 3 batters, that kind of changes everything, because there used to be matchup pitching, You'd find a lefty, so you'd bring in a lefty to match him. And now, since you have to go 3 batters, you could throw him, but then you might get 2 righty batters in a row, in which it'll be a favorable matchup, lefty on righty.
Mm-hmm. Do you like the rule?
I like it. I like what it does for the game in essence, but it sort of takes away the strategical side of it to an extent, because, like I said, you can put him in for 1 batter, maybe a batter who hasn't done historically very well against that pitcher. So you can put him in for 1, you get that quick out, and you take him out. I get that they want to have him go 3 batters, a big part because the pace of the game. You don't want to have one guy come in, warm up for his 7 or 8 pitches, get 1 batter, then go warm up another guy for another 10 minutes, go to another commercial break, and it kind of keeps the pace of the game going, instead of breaking it up like 1 pitcher at a time like that.
And especially another new addition to the game is all teams are going to have 26 roster spots next season as well. So there's going to be new job openings for every single team, and that's going to be used in a way that's going to be interesting for each team. If you're the Tampa Bay Rays, that extra roster spot might be used for a bullpen arm. Or if it's the Yankees, it might be used for an extra guy on that bench. So again, it's going to be interesting to see how other teams utilize that extra person, and it just gave someone else a new job, basically.
Yeah, with that extra few roster spots there, like you said, the teams are kind of free to do whatever they want with that. Kind of add wherever they need, wherever they're lacking in their depth in their lineup, or is it their pitching or whatever they need. They can add in a guy there. They don't have to be limited by less roster spots, so they can kind of fill in guys wherever they need it. And I think that's a good change for the game. I think that allows teams to be more versatile, allow them to scout a little bit deeper.
Well, Chaz, I'm excited for Game 6 tonight of the World Series. Let's see if Houston is able to close it out. But coming up next, the Red Sox have a new boss in town. Who is it? Find out next on Power 88. Welcome back to Power 88 Radio. Alex Feuz, Nick Carlson, and Chaz. So we're bringing you up until the 8 o'clock hour this morning. Red Sox have a new boss in town. Shane Bloom, former exec of the Tampa Bay Rays, a new chief baseball operations officer in for now the Boston Red Sox. Nick, are you surprised about this move for the Red Sox?
Well, I think in best case scenario, this is the best possible move for the Red Sox as of right now, especially after last year's season. Don't get me started on that one. But, well, I mean, they went from the first place team to the absolute laughing stock of the MLB.
Well, I think if I wouldn't say the absolute laughing stock. I mean, I would say it was probably a most disappointing season in recent memory for the Red Sox, especially coming off 108 wins and a World Series victory, and now they were flirting with not even being a 500 team. They got that, but at the end of the day, they struggled a lot. I mean, you look back and when you look back at guys like David Price and Chris Sale when they miss over half the season, you can make an argument to why they really weren't that threat in the American League East and in the MLB. You know, David Price and Chris Sale, whether you like them or you don't, on paper, they're two of the best pitchers in the game.
That is true, but pitching is only half of the game. You got to have your offense behind you. And when the bats aren't swinging, you're not going to score any runs, and that makes your pitching work even harder.
So. And the Red Sox struggle with the bullpen issues, of course. I mean, they really didn't have one guy to go to that could stop the bleeding, whatever offense they were trying to combat. And then you look at guys like JD Martinez and Mookie Betts and Jackie Bradley Jr., and we can go on all day about these guys that had career years in 2018 and had average years in 2019. No matter what Alex Cora did in 2018, it all worked out. And then in 2019, everything worked out for Aaron Boone in the regular season, if we're talking about the Yankees. So, again, you can't kind of have the magic touch every single year, and we saw it this year with the Red Sox. There are disappointing seasons. Things just don't work out. That's the game of baseball as it is. But I feel like Shane Bloom, if he can really utilize his mind that he had in Tampa and recreate it with the resources money-wise and in payroll-wise here in Boston, he could really make something special here. Yes, he's going to have to figure out a lot of questions. Do we want to trade Mookie Betts or keep him? What about JD Martinez? Does he opt in? Does he opt out? What's Chris Sale and David Price's long-term future look like with the Red Sox? The bullpen issues is going to be a huge major question going into the offseason. There's a lot of questions surrounding this Red Sox team. Nick, if it was up to you, would he trade or keep Mookie Betts?
In my opinion, I would keep Mookie Betts. Keep him with the team just because, for one, his numbers are always consistent and they're always good. Second of all, he just has this energy around him. You can just see it in the dugout, in the clubhouse. He's always smiling, walking around, talking to other people. And I've been to a few Red Sox games this season. I'm always there early. I'm one of those early people. I love to get there to see BP. And he's always out there. He's walking around, interacting with fans. It's like he's more or less there for the social. You know, like he loves talking to the kids. He loves talking to all the people. And then you'll see him go out there and crank a few home runs in BP and then come right back. You know, he's a guy who will kind of get to know you. He'll ask you for your name, where are you from, and just start talking to you from there. But going back to Bloom, he's been with the Rays for 15 years, and he's done an absolute amazing job. I mean, look at the Rays. On opening day, the Rays had one of the lowest payrolls at $49.8 million, while the Red Sox had one of the highest, $187.23 million. And the Rays stayed competitive throughout the AL. They finished 12 games ahead of the Red Sox in the AL East. So money's not everything.
No, and we look at the Oakland Athletics, and they're another team, the Moneyball era. but there also has to be a fan out there. Of course, it makes sense, and I have to ask it too. At the end of the day, though, look at Oakland Athletics, and then, yes, they make the playoffs, but where's the championships?
What's the point of showing up if you don't leave with a ring?
And that's the reason why Dombrowski got fired, right? That's how high the expectation is set in Boston. And I'm sure it's the same in New York, same in LA, and same in Chicago, and all these other big-name places. And I'm sure now back in Houston, down in Houston, is the same expectation now that they're really part of that dynasty, especially in this decade. And then looking ahead into the next decade, next year, the Astros, the Red Sox, the Yankees, and the Dodgers are going to be the most forefronted teams going into the next decade. Now, 10 years from now, are those still going to be the same teams? Probably not. I'm sure there's going to be another team. Maybe it's the Marlins. Maybe it's the White Sox. Maybe it's the Mariners. We just don't know what the future of these quote-unquote poor teams of this day and age is what it's going to be 10 years from now. If you would have told me that the Astros 10 years ago would be really almost on the brink of a dynasty franchise in this decade, I would have told you you're insane.
Oh, I agree with that 100%. I mean, with baseball and really any sport in general, you don't know. You cannot predict what is going to happen. I mean, sports, for me, that's kind of one of the wonders and awe. I mean, I can think back to the Red Sox, one of my favorite Red Sox World Series. You got the Tigers and Red Sox at Fenway, bases loaded. David Ortiz cranks a home run into the right field bullpen after going 0 for 3 at the plate that game. So you just never know what could happen in any sport, really. So if somebody tells me that in the next 5 years, the Yankees are going to win 3 or 4 World Series, I'd say you're nuts. You never know what could happen.
Especially in the game that we have today in baseball. It's so unpredictable. It is so real. And it's so hard to repeat in sports unless you're the New England Patriots or the Golden State Warriors. Again, dynasty. Astros aren't there yet. They need a couple more World Series championships. I feel like if they win this year, and then if they go into next season flirting with another championship, and then if they get one, now we're talking dynasty. Because if the Astros win it this year, that's 2 out of 3 years, and then if they win it next year, now that's 3 out of 4. That's a dynasty. But 2 out of 3, you need a couple more.
You always got to get more, 1 or 2, never enough. Look at the Patriots. They got 1. They got thirsty. They wanted more in their trophy case. Robert Kraft wanted more shiny stuff to show off to people when they come to his house, a.k.a. Gillette Stadium. So, and I don't blame every team. All these guys that work their whole lives to go pro into the MLB, NBA, MLS, whatever respective sport you play, you want to win championships.
And it's the nature of the beast. You want to be a champion, and we're going to find out tonight if the Astros have what it takes to be World Series champions, or if it's going to go to a Game 7 and anything can happen in Game 7. But coming up next on Power 88, top 5 news headlines of the day. Find out some interesting stories for that. Next on Power 88. Welcome back to Power 88. Alex Feuz, Chaz Soba, Nick Carlson bringing you up until the 8 o'clock hour this morning. Top 5 news headlines of the day. Some crazy news out there as always. Kicking things off, headline number 5, an elderly woman is a millionaire after a painting in her kitchen sells for a record fee. Did you see this news story, Chaz?
I did, actually. She had this painting in her kitchen for, I think it was almost 20 years before she found out that it was a long-lost painting. The painting was called Christ Mocked, and it was sold at an auction for 24 million euros, which is about 20.7 million US dollars.
Wow.
Just sitting in her kitchen.
Just sitting in her kitchen.
Must be nice.
I gotta check my dorm room and see if I have any paintings that's in there that would be worth that. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I'd definitely say so. Next headline that I saw today: a California man who stole a lemur from a zoo was sentenced to 90 days in prison and must pay a fine of $8,486.
I'm sorry. A lemur?
A lemur.
Oh boy.
In fact, the oldest lemur in captivity. He was, I believe, 32 years old when he was stolen. The perpetrator, the California man, he just wanted a pet.
Well, there's a couple different ways that you could get a pet. And, well, I guess you could just steal a lemur from the zoo. You're going to have to, again, he's in jail now, and he's going to have to pay a fine that's almost $10,000. Was it worth it?
Looking at this mugshot right now, of course everyone at home can't see it, but I know you can, and it does not look like he's worth the, the fine and the jail time.
No.
The lemur was unharmed, though, and it was returned to the zoo after just a couple days.
I wonder if the zoo got some increase in business because everyone wants to see the lemur. I'm sure there's some people out there that wanted to see the lemur that was stolen.
I don't see anything about an influx of people, but I don't have any data, so I could definitely believe a lot of people going to see it.
Like, I have a feeling, like when Harambe the gorilla was in the news, again, different reason, but still, I mean, he's still a famous gorilla, and I probably offended some people out there because, I don't know, but still, I think at the end of the day, I think some people might be interested or intrigued to check out the lemur that was stolen.
Yeah, and actually, I'm reading this right now. He cut a hole in the fence with bolt cutters and just kind of took it and left. But what he didn't think about, some of the other animals actually went through that hole and got out. Luckily, they were all captured, returned, and put back in their habitat. The fence got fixed, but he really stirred something up there.
How did he do that?
Good old-fashioned bolt cutters.
Oh my gosh. Headline number 3. A man battling cancer wins $200,000 on his last day of chemotherapy from the lottery. It says the North Carolina Lottery Commission shared a heartwarming story about a cancer survivor who got lucky in more ways than one after snagging a winning scratch-off ticket.
Yeah, and that's just a feel-good story. I mean, he was battling cancer for a while, and he went on his last day of chemotherapy, decided to stop in. He's a retired Department of Transportation worker. He just went into a store on his way. He bought a $1 ticket. He won $5. He said, you know what? I like my luck. I'll buy another one. And in that very moment, he was like, at the last second, you know what? I might as well buy 2. I'm here. I won $5. I'll buy 2 $5 tickets. He scratched it all off and won $200,000.
Yeah, he goes on to say, I saw all those zeros and I froze. He said, I didn't believe it until I gave it to the clerk at the counter to scan. When it showed go to lottery headquarters, I started shaking and I couldn't believe it. So he just finished his last round of chemo and he won. It was $200,000 scratch-off ticket, but after taxes, it was still a lot of money, $141,000. So it's not a bad chances and luck for him. And he said, I have good insurance, Foster said, but there's still some costs, and this will make it a whole lot easier. So again, a great story for that.
Yeah, and another big story in the news, moving over to sports, is that the Jets trade the D lineman Leonard Williams over to other New York rival, the New York Giants, which actually marks the first trade between the Jets and the Giants in history.
It's always interesting to see like the teams that are so close to each other. Like you'll never see a Yankee-Mets trade, or you'll never see a White Sox-Cubs trade. It's like that competition between the market. But the Jets and the Giants did so, and this is a pretty big trade. It's a rare trade, of course. So the Jets will receive a 3rd-round pick in the 2020 and a 5th-rounder draft pick in 2021. A source told Adam Schefter of ESPN. Rich Cimini, also a Jets reporter for ESPN, breaking the news as well alongside Adam Schefter, also from ESPN. And out of playoff contention, the Jets started to address their future, loading up the first-year general manager Joe Douglas. So that, again, they're still trying to get back into the playoff contention this season. They're still struggling, though. Sam Darnold is still very young in his career. They still have a chance to just start playing better this year. It's looking very slim for playoff chances. We're halfway through the season, and right about now it gives you the good gauge of who's making it and who's not and where we need to go from here.
I'll tell you what, I know my Dolphins aren't making it.
Why is that, Chaz?
Did you see last night's game? I mean,
Well-
we started strong, 14 unanswered, but then, they came back with 27 unanswered.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to match it.
Right. It was funny. I saw a tweet yesterday. A man bet $100,000 on the Steelers winning. And I think the payout was $11,000. So he would have got back $111,000. And when I saw last night that the Dolphins were winning 14-0, I go, I would hate to be that guy right now. But this morning, I would love to be that guy. Just won basically a free $11,000.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much this year, any bet against the Dolphins is probably a safe bet. As much as I hate to say that, but he bet $100,000, and I think in that first quarter he was shaking a little bit.
I think he was. I mean, I don't blame him because you look smart, and then at the end, the Dolphins pull up one of the biggest upsets, and then you're out $100,000. Not too good. Last headline of the day. Again, we always like to end it on what national day it is. Today is National Hermit Day. No, not a crab. It's a hermit is a person who lives to some degree in seclusion from society. So if you want to stay inside, today is the perfect day to do so. No matter how social a person is, everyone needs to take a break from the hustle of everyday life. Hermits know how to avoid the public. They have mastered the ability to live independently without social interaction. Some of today's modern convenience may make it even more probable to become hermit-like. And then it goes on to say, however, this is only one day, not a lifestyle change. It's simply a retreat into your own quiet place, isolated from the rest of the world.
And I think it's funny that they have a whole national day for people who kind of want to stay away from society and kind of want to keep to themselves. But
here we are.
Yeah, and one of the ways it says to observe National Hermit Day is just kind of disengage from the world, turn off your phone, just kind of do stuff around the house, just kind of have a relaxing day, stay to yourself and enjoy your little neck of the woods.
I mean, to be honest, waking up this morning, I kind of felt like I should just stay inside today. It just seems like one of those days. It's still dark outside. We haven't seen the sun in a very long time. And I don't think we're going to see the sun anytime soon. And it's kind of depressing. It's a very poor weather week. So, Chaz, to wrap up the top 5 news headlines of the day, I'll send it back over to you, and then we'll take a quick break on Power 88. So, Chaz, I'll send it over to you. What's it looking out there for the weather?
Well, the weather today will be cloudy all day with a high of just 57 at 4 in the afternoon, and the low will be around 49 and is currently 51 degrees here. Rain looks to be on the forecast for the next 3 days straight, so some discouraged kids might be skipping out on the mischief night rituals. But because, to be honest, I don't really see toilet paper faring too well in the rain.
Well, coming up next, we'll continue the conversation about what's on TV tonight. Next on Power 88. Welcome back to Power 88. Alex Feuz and Chaz Hova bringing you up until the 8 o'clock hour. We talked a lot of great things today. Once again, World Series Game 6 tonight. We talked about some different NFL trades as well as National Hermit Day, Halloween, 2 days away. Chaz, there's a story that came out this morning I just read that 72% of parents admit to eating their children's Halloween candy.
Well, I know my parents are part of that demographic. They've taken their fair share of my candy.
How much do you feel like they ate?
Well, I always give my mounds to my grandmother because
Okay.
she loves those. I never cared much for them.
Sure.
I know my aunt always likes Smarties. She always used to take those. My parents just kind of pick sometimes.
Uh-huh.
They claim they're testing it for poison or whatever. But they always make up some excuse, but I don't really mind. I always get a lot of candy.
Yeah, my favorites are the Kit Kats. I love Kit Kats. And my dad always takes the Reese's. He loves the Hershey's as well. But I have a story, actually. I forget how old exactly I was. Probably like 7 or 8. So I had a black lab named Zach. And I did really well in Halloween candy. I had a big bucket of Halloween candy. And I remember it was a Friday night. We went out to dinner with my parents. And I was at my grandma's house or a friend's house before. I forget where I was. But I wasn't home before we went out to dinner. And we were out shopping. And then after, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to go back home to have the candy. And they kind of stopped and they were a little worried. And they go, yeah, about that. I get home and I have no candy. My black lab, Zach, ate all of my Halloween candy the day after Halloween. He ate all of it.
That's a stomach ache for the storybooks.
It was a very colorful backyard for a lot of days. But he was fine. He didn't get sick or anything.
That's good. That's always a good thing to hear.
He was able to just eat anything he wanted.
Dogs and chocolate usually don't mix too well, so that's always a good thing to hear that you can just kind of eat through it.
He was fine. He was a crazy dog. I tell you, he had the stomach of a champion. Like he had a whole bag of cough drops one time, and we called I have some stories about this dog. And then we called the vet, and he was like, well, he won't be coughing for a long time. So he could really eat anything he wanted. He was basically a goat. Like, he was a goat. And then he was fine.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I don't have too many wild stories about my dogs eating candy like that, but I tell you what, I'm definitely with your dad. I'm a Reese's kind of guy.
Reese's?
I like the peanut butter.
Yeah, I mean, I like Reese's, but sometimes a little too sweet. Sometimes it's a little too much.
I can understand that.
But again, every now and then, some good Reese's peanut butter cups, that hits the spot. And then, of course, the Kit Kats. Another candy bar that's really one of my favorites, but you can't really find it anywhere. It's like an old-fashioned one, and it has like the marshmallow in one, and then it has caramel in the other, and then the chocolate in the other. And I think it's like salted caramel or something like that. Forget exactly what it's called. It's an old-fashioned candy bar. It's one of my favorites.
Sounds good.
I have to find out the name of it, and I'll share it tomorrow on the show or on Thursday when you're back. But it's one of my favorites. Thursday is Halloween, so maybe we'll bring in some candy to the show for Halloween.
Yeah, a little 7 a.m. candy never hurt anyone, right?
What's the difference if you eat it in the morning or at night, right? But again, World Series Game 6 tonight. Astros, Nationals, Verlander, the Astros' respective pitcher, and Steven Strasburg on the mound for the Nationals. So I know you said you don't know, but if I put you in the spot to make a prediction for tonight's game, do the Astros win the World Series championship tonight, or do we see one more day of baseball in 2019?
I'm thinking tonight is going to go to the Nationals.
Okay.
First, because Verlander has been sort of shaky in the postseason, as we've seen. And also, Nationals have Strasburg, super strong pitcher. Mm-hmm. They're going back to Houston, which is normally an advantage, but in this crazy World Series, we've seen that it almost seems like home field is a disadvantage.
Yeah, it's so strange, right, that no team has won a home game yet. And, well, if the Astros do so, they're champions. So it's definitely a strange World Series. It's been an exciting one. I feel like sometimes it has fallen flat a little bit, to be completely honest, especially the last 2 games. It's kind of just been a blowout, and that's really not fun baseball to watch. I think the postseason as a whole has been pretty much an exciting time, so it would be nice to have a good Game 6 and a good Game 7 if it needs so. But if tonight is it for the 2019 baseball season, I want to see an exciting game. And I'm sure if you're an Astros fan, you would love to see a 20-0 blowout.
Well, I mean, as a baseball viewer, even, you always want to see tight games. You want to see a walk-off hit. You want to see a game-saving catch. You want to see someone strike out to end the game as a pitcher, of course, not as a batter.
Yeah.
But you want to see these exciting games. Like I said, the last 2 have been sort of blowout. They've been over by halfway through the game. So you definitely want to see a closer game. especially for a World Series where it's supposed to be the two best teams in the league clashing off against one another for the best team in the entire league. And you want to see a good game between those two, a good close game, well fought, a lot of small ball play, and a lot of moving guys over and stuff like that to just squeeze across any runs you can and try and get the lead.
Well, we'll see if the Astros are able to win it all tonight, or if we'll see Game 7 of the World Series. Signing off for Nick Carlson and Chad Soba, I'm Alex Feuz. Have a great rest of your day, everyone, and be kind to one another.